Ask Me Anything by Brainologi. Welcome to another session of Ask Me Anything, where we get amazing experts and achievers from various walks of life and understand their journeys, contributions, and achievements. And they tell us about the various exciting things they do and give us an understanding into their lives and professions. Today's guest is a very, very famous RJ, Hrishikesh Kannan. And, a round of applause. Rishi, warm welcome to you. Let me introduce you to the audience we have. Hrishikesh Kannan, popularly known as Rishi K, is a producer and presenter on the nation's biggest breakfast radio show on 94.3 Radio 1. He is a podcast creator and anchor on online platforms like moneycontrol.com and Book My Show Jukebox. A multiple RAPA and Promax award-winning radio host, voice artist, and master of ceremonies, Hrishikesh has won the War of the RJs, a nationwide poll in which radio listeners voted him top of the heap as the #1 radio presenter in India. He's also been felicitated with the Afternoon Newsmakers Achievers Award in 2018 in the category Best Radio Personality and an Emacs Global Award in 2019 for Best Awards at NC and Compere. Kannan also runs his own Maverick audio production and allied services outfit called Radiohead that offers end-to-end solutions for creative and commercial partners. Hey, a warm welcome to you, Hrishikesh. It's a real privilege to have you on board with us.
Well, it's wonderful what Shubda, yourself, Anupam, as well as the team at Brainologi are doing. You know, I wish when I was growing up, there were forums like this, which is why I was so keen to get on, because I was very keen to give the children what I didn't have, which is, this kind of technology and the kind of reach and getting them to learn new stuff, which is so different from, their regular syllabus. I want to tell all the children there that, before social media came in, before Facebook and Twitter and Instagram came in, most radio jockeys or RJs used to pretend that they're very, very beautiful and handsome because their voice used to be so beautiful. Correct. But now they can't pretend because you guys, all you kids can see them because social media does that, isn't it? So that's the first rule. Never pretend, because not only does your voice tell a great story, but now people can even see you like you guys are seeing me.
So let me jump into the first question. You see, all children, when they are kids, and I keep hearing to them, they aspire to be footballers, they aspire to be doctors, pilots. Now, radio jockey or RJ is not a very traditional career. So tell us, how did that happen to you?
Actually, it happened purely out of accident. When I was in school and college, I used to do a lot of debating and elocution and drama. And I was doing a lot of theater in college. And if you'd asked me at that point of time what I wanted to do, I would have wanted to go to the National School of Drama and dedicate my life to the performing arts on stage. But it so happened that, I was really young. I was in my FY of college and a radio station was opening up. And somebody who I was doing theater with, who was a senior, turned around and said, there are some auditions going on for a radio station. And I turned around and said, radio? I mean, I'm talking about the late 90s here. The radio revolution still hadn't happened, So this guy was senior to me, turned around and said, why don't you go and just have an audition, and maybe you'll like it. And then he gave a clincher for a first-year college student who was doing theater and who needed a little bit of pocket money. He said, यार वो 500 रुपए per program दे रहे हैं अगर select किया तो. So I said, wow, that's not a bad idea. 500 rupees a program, I'm talking late 90s, was quite exciting. So I said, let me just go and try. And I went in there and they said, write some fake talk segments. They are called links. Children, when you hear a radio jockey talking, it's called an RJ link, a radio jockey link. And then I got into the studio and I put on the headphones and, there was a computer in front of me, there were CD players to the side of me and this nice compact gear. And they had also given me the songs to play. So I did the introduction, I played the song, and it was just like falling in love for the first time. It was so beautiful. So I was really passionate about music. And I was also passionate about the performing arts, which is why I was doing theater and I was doing public speaking. And for the first time in my life, I felt here is a combination of the two big loves in my life, which is music and sharing that music, and performing, which is public speaking. And I mean, it was just amazing. Like I said, I never looked back. So that's the story, Anupam. That's how I got
Yeah.
in.
We have Aryaman on call. So we'll get Aryaman to ask you a question. You want to ask any question?
Music.
That's a beautiful question. What's my favorite music? As of now, I like a lot of English pop. Yeah, I listen to a lot of English pop. I like Ed Sheeran. I like Dua Lipa. I like Coldplay, which is a band from England, another band called Keen.
I also like Coldplay. I said.
Lovely.
Thank you, Aryaman. Coming back to this question which I had, Rishi, what can kids look up to? How do they get inspired to, sort of move or become something like is public speaking really important skill to become an RJ?
One thing you must understand, everybody, is that you don't need a great voice to become a radio jockey. Just like you don't need to be a very handsome person to become an actor. So, if you're good looking in movies or if you sound good on radio, it's only enough for people to come and listen to you a few times. After some time, you have to have knowledge. You must know about music. 2, you must know what is happening in the city around you and in the country. And by that, children, I don't mean you need to know about politics and which political party and things like that. Small things about your city. Small things that are happening in your city. So you must be very well aware. You must read a lot. And most importantly, you must be very, very, very friendly. Because in radio, you want your listeners to be part of your family. That's what it's all about.
So I think Samira and Vian are online. We will get them onto the stream. So Samira and Vian, over to you. This is your opportunity. Go ahead and ask Hrishikesh the question you want to ask.
Hi, Samara. Hi, Vian.
Hi. Hi, sir. I had a question that when you're speaking to people and you don't know who they are, you are not, you're not familiar with them, and how can you speak so confidently? Where do you get the confidence from? So can you share the secret with us, please?
That's a
I
very,
love
very
her
good
confidence.
question.
I love her confidence, but by the way, Rishi,
Absolutely. You're right, Anupam.
Thank you.
So confident and so wonderfully asked. Yeah. So the question is a very, very valid question. See, if you're speaking to a movie star or a famous person, you can read about that person. But sometimes when you're talking to a listener, you don't know much about that listener. So my answer to your question is, if it's a famous person, you read about them, you have knowledge about them, you hear other interviews they have done, you hear or read articles that have been written about them, you go on the internet and Google search about them, and that gives you the confidence to speak to them. Knowledge is confidence, my dear. If you don't know them, and if it's a caller who's calling in on your show, make sure that before you put them on air, you have a friendly discussion with them. That also makes them feel better because they know that they are talking to a friend on the airwaves, a radio jockey. So that gives me a little bit of confidence saying, I know a little bit about this person. He's not a completely or she's not a completely unknown entity, and it improves. But I'm not saying it's all smooth sailing. Sometimes you fumble. Sometimes you say wrong things. But practice makes perfect. Have you heard that? Practice makes perfect. So if you keep doing the right things again and again and again, it does help. I hope that answers your question.
Sir, my question is, how do actors sing so nice?
How the singers sing so nice. You're right. Lots of times I have singers on my show and I'm absolutely stunned when I see how beautifully they sing. It's not as though they have recorded and then they have brought the recording, but they're actually singing live in the radio studio in front of me. It's called Riyaz, which is again practice. These singers, Vian, have practiced and practiced and practiced. In Hindustani, in Urdu, it's called Riyaz. They've done Riyaz again and again and again, and practice makes perfect. That's how they come on and they sing with so much confidence and sing so nicely.
So, Rishikesh, I think one of the things we want is, let's say, children today are really smart and they are really coping with technology much better than what we used to do, right? And a lot of the youngsters are now interested in making their own podcast and YouTube one. So, is there any guidance or tip that you can give them that if you are planning a show, right, what should you think about? Of course, there are various aspects, like you said, there is planning, research. But when you think about a show, how should anybody think about a show and what are the things to take care if you want to create your own show on YouTube or on a podcast?
Yeah. So there are two kinds of essentially audio programs, but you can do a program for a radio station that involves music where you play songs, or you can do a podcast, which is an online audio program, mostly without music, which is just talk. My advice is always find areas that you are passionate about. If you love reading books, you must do a radio show or a podcast on just books. If you, of course, unfortunately or fortunately, my radio show is 5 hours long and I have to do a lot of things in it. But if you're doing a dedicated podcast, let's say 15 or 20 minutes that you want to put on YouTube or on Spotify or online anywhere, then you have the freedom to choose to do only that one thing, because you're going to do it only for 20 minutes or half an hour. Then you can do stuff that is of interest to you. If you like cricket, maybe you can do a cricket podcast. If you like fashion and clothes, maybe you can do a podcast that is involving fashion and clothes, where you yourself are speaking and also speaking to other people who are in the fashion industry or, fashionable people. So my first thing about podcasting is to find things that are of interest to you. Then after you find things that are of interest to you, find out how you will make it interesting for the other person. Because it shouldn't be that it's only of interest to you and you're not able to make it interesting for another person. You must think as a listener, because before you became a podcast host or a radio host, you yourself were a listener. You concentrate on that, how to make it exciting. So figure that out. And then, of course, all the methodology that I told you about, which is you study, you read, you research, and then you put it out.
So here we have a question, Rishi. When you do some mistakes while talking on live on the show, how do you overcome it? How do you solve it? Because like you said, sometimes fumble can happen, right? But then it can be embarrassing. So many people are listening. So how do you, sort of handle that?
Vandana, what a wonderful question. On live radio, you just apologize. If you've said something wrong, you just say, I beg your pardon. Because you can't go back and correct that mistake. If you're doing a recorded program, like some people do recorded programs for a Sunday. So if they made a mistake, they just rewind and they delete that portion. But when you're doing a live broadcast, like I go from 7 a.m. to 12 noon, absolutely live. If I do make a mistake, then I just say, I'm really, really sorry. I'll give you a classic example. For example, if I'm talking to an army officer and I say that you were in the Indian Army during the 1965 war with China, but then I find out that he's actually in the Indian Army during the 1971 war against Pakistan, I correct myself and I say, 1,000 apologies, or really sorry, I stand corrected, and this is the truth. If I'm speaking and I get the number of centuries that Virat Kohli has hit wrong, I'm free to correct myself and say, I'm really sorry, I got the number of centuries wrong. People appreciate you being honest because they all realize that we all make mistakes. But if you pretend you haven't made that mistake and just continue as though everything you're saying is right, that is the problem. So a little bit of honesty and a little bit of earnestness and the willingness to make an apology.
So we have one more speaker. We have Adit online. So Rishi, I think I'll add Adit to the stream and let him ask a question to you. Adit, you're live. Go ahead. Ask your question to him.
Hi, Adit.
Hello. So what do you find best to be a radio jockey?
Just speaking to so many interesting, diverse people. I could speak to somebody like you who's a listener. I could be speaking to Ranveer Singh or Deepika Padukone who's a movie star. Or I could be speaking to Virat Kohli or Sania Mirza who are sports people. Or I could be speaking to Amish or Chetan Bhagat who's a writer. So the beauty of being able to speak to so many people and have conversations and learn about them, and just the fact that I'm able to touch people's lives by getting on the air every day, Adit. The music that I play for them makes them happy. I realize it makes them happy. It makes me feel happy. The information that I'm giving them, I give information like a listener. I never try to pretend to be the expert. If I'm helping them buy a new phone, I will give them the information and leave the decision to them. If I'm helping them buy a new car, I will get the experts to talk about the car and leave the decision to them at the end of the day. The fact that I'm impacting or, entertaining and informing people every day of my life, that's very, very meaningful for me. So that's what makes me very happy.
Thank you.
So Rishi, I just wanted to ask one more question. Are you saying that if somebody is not public speaking, somebody is shy, then they should not try and become an RJ?
You know something? Some of the most amazing public speakers I know are actually very shy in real life. But they transform when they're in front of a mic, or they transform when they're in front of a camera. You know, you'd be really, really surprised to know how many shy people I know, and you look at them on screen and you just can't make out how shy, that they're extremely shy people. So my contention always is that even if you're a shy person in real life, you can be a public speaker, because there are parts to us, right? There are different parts that get switched on. There is a part of you that when he or she gets in front of the mic, or when he or she gets on the stage, is activated, and they become absolutely beautiful. I'll give you a classic example. I mean, there are so many people who turn around and look at these great actors and the kind of parts that they do on screen. They look at Nasiruddin Shah, Robert De Niro. These are all very shy people off the screen. When they get off their camera, they want to just be with their family and read a book. Likewise, for a lot of public personalities, cricketers, for example. Cricketers in the past, you see a Rahul Dravid, VVS Lakshman, even Saurav Ganguly in a lot of instances. When they are in the public eye and they're performing, they're all pumped up and fired up. But otherwise, they just like to be in peace and quiet and quietude. So do not think that if you're a shy person in real life, you will not be able to be a good public speaker. You don't have to be fake. You can still be natural. You can still be honest. You can still be yourself. But there is a different part of you that gets turned on when the mic or the camera is in front of you. So practice, keep practicing in front of a mic, keep practicing in front of a camera, depending on what you want to do, whether you want to do video content or whether you want to do audio content. And you will get over that immediate apprehension. Like I said, you can still continue to be shy after you finish your stage performance, after you finish your radio show. But as long as you're performing, you need to be a good public speaker.
Is there a way somebody can train to become an RJ? Please tell us something about that.
Yes, there are lots of courses. There are lots of radio jockey courses now. There are official certificates. Of course, they're for older children. For example, the XIC, the Xavier Institute of Communications, does a course called ABCD, Announcing, Broadcasting, Comparing and Dubbing. In Sophia's at the Polytechnic, they also do a course. In Delhi, for example, at the Jamia Millia Islamia and the Indian Institute of Mass Communications, they're doing courses. So there are short-term courses, long-term courses, there are workshops, all kinds of stuff that's available in the net, which involve you just, getting a lot of practice. So, you still have to do your work at home, you have to do your practice at home, but at least somebody there to guide you. Anita Jain has a question. How can my grandson, age 8 years, start a YouTube channel on science? That's the beauty about YouTube. You can just start off anything. You just start your own channel and you go and start broadcasting. It's as simple as that. And a lot of people now who used to struggle to get their content on, the Stars and the Sonys and all these TV channels are now just doing their own content on the World Wide Web. So YouTube is a free TV or video channel. So he just has to go to YouTube, start an account and create an account and start. Then he has to give a link. He has to give a link to friends, family, whatever. How successful he is depends on how good he is and what is the reach. I've noticed that people who do science programs, the experiments on camera are always more entertaining for me than just the talk, because the talk is available a lot. So I don't know if he can do some interesting experiments alone or with somebody just to get his YouTube channel going. So that'll be an interesting idea. Instead of just delivering facts for him, maybe he should think of some kind of live experiments on YouTube when he's doing that. That's an idea I can leave you with.
I think Vaishali is asking, and I think this is for podcasting, what equipments or how can you podcast from the house? Nadishi, and you yourself are a podcaster and you yourself run your own, firm. So any advice to children on what basic podcasting equipments can children start off with?
Okay, I don't know if I can move my
camera and show us the equipment. Wow, that would be amazing.
And show what I am doing. Okay, so here we go. This is a microphone. This is a sound box that the microphone goes into, and then the sound box goes into the computer, and this is a audio recording software, which is a phone recording software called SoundTap. So now let me just explain everything to you. It's not rocket science. It's very, 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 very simple. When you speak into a microphone, it is called analog sound. You need to convert that analog sound to digital sound. which means when you open a program, your voice should come up as waves. Yeah. So how good or bad you sound, how natural you sound is how the analog conversion to digital happens. That means you're speaking on this mic and how does it get recorded on this machine as a digital wave? For that, you need an audio box or an audio card. A lot of people take a mic and they directly attach it to the computer. I don't approve of that. A computer is not equipped to do professional broadcast because the sound card on a computer is only enough to perform basic tasks, which is getting on a Zoom call, doing a Facebook Live. It's not professional analog to digital conversion. You need an external sound box or sound card like the one I just showed you, which does the job. And then you can use the computer to just record. So the computer is just recording. Invest in a decent mic, invest in a good sound box, which is an audio card that converts your spoken sound into a digital sound. Then invest in software that will allow you to record. Now, I showed you one software, which is call recorder software that I use. That means I can actually connect my phone to my computer and record a phone call with anybody. That's a call recording software. Other than that, there is a mic recording software also, which some people use Pro Tools, some people use Wave Labs. So for podcasting, that's what you need. You need a mic, you need a sound card, you need a call recording software and a mic recording software. So those are basically things. And of course, you need a great internet connection. Some people prefer doing the podcasting on video. So then you need a good video software, whether it's Zoom or Skype, but then that again you need to record. So make sure that that software has a recording facility. You have to have a soundproof environment, you have great connections, and away you go. So that's basically what you need.
So once again, Rishi, thank you for taking out time. I think it was wonderful interacting with you. I think the children had a good time as well. Some very interesting interactions. We have a potential, science experiment on YouTube, which is going to get launched. Potential RJ in Samara who might get inspired by you and take over. So thank you very much. And we had a great time. I hope you did too.
Yes, Anupam, I want to again congratulate you on a great job done. I think all the children watching can learn a lot from you, because it's not only about public speaking, but also listening, like you said. And you listen quite beautifully to your guests, and you interject at the correct points and you fill in the blanks, which is a great example of public speaking. So well done. And to the team, which is, Shubda, yourself and the team at Brainologi, this is the purest of art forms that can help children and help, breed the next generation of thinkers and people who can change the planet. So great job, Brainologi.
Thank you. On that inspiring note, thank you, Hrishikesh. Thank you all the children for being very patient listeners and asking all those questions. Thank you. Goodbye. Until we see you again, keep asking those questions. Ask me anything. See you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Hello! I hoped you liked this edition of Ask Me Anything. If you did, do show your love by pressing this like button over here. And if you have any comments and want to give us any feedback, press on this comment button and express your opinion. And if you absolutely love us and want to know when is our next edition of Ask Me Anything, press the subscribe button. And till then, keep thinking of questions so that you can ask me anything.